It looks like everything is good to go. Let's get the countdown rolling. That's Joseph, laughing face. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Uh-oh, we have a problem. We potentially have a problem. Hello, welcome to the stream. Let's see. It's been a bit since I streamed on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. In theory, the chat should be, displaying the chat, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. Which is an unfortunate state of affairs, but we can potentially fix it. Oh, maybe it's actually. Oh, it starts from the top and not the bottom. Oh. Well, all right. We can solve that problem. Hello, Ayush. Welcome. Bear with me for just one moment while we deal with this particular issue. I need to do something like that so I can do. Let's see. We're looking at what full window chat source. I think the problem, such as it is that this part should go like this. Then we need to move this part down, like this. If I made this bigger, I would be able to see it. So the magic of this, of course, is that in doing this for Twitch, stop snapping, you turd. On Twitch, the chat starts from the bottom up. And of course, on YouTube, it starts from the top down. And this is the first time we've been using this new overlay here on this particular stream. There we go. That'll do it. See my old man eyes leaning way on in there. Hello, Ben. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Ayush. Hello, Adepta Potentia. Hello, Joseph Lyons. The font in this chat window could potentially border on ridiculous. I mean, I know I'm hard of sight, but I don't think it needs to be 1,000 point. Let's size that down just a titch. There we go. How's everybody doing? Good to be back on YouTube. Of course, I've been streaming on Twitch a couple of days a week since February, but streams on YouTube have stopped for the last little while. Sorry about not saying anything about it. Originally I was helping a friend just across the way with a project that he was working on that was doing stuff on Tuesdays. Well, that is easy to remember. Hello, Danny boy. Welcome to the YouTubes, where we also do some streams, at least, historically. So just saying, been doing it for a couple of years, but for the last couple of months, YouTube streams haven't been happening because I was helping a friend with doing some stuff, and the days to help him with that was on Tuesdays, and sometimes it went long, sometimes it didn't. I didn't want to schedule a stream and only have it for 45 minutes and have to leave or the such. But that is all finished now. And as you can see, we're in a new stream schedule here. We're going to be Mondays on YouTube, and then Wednesdays and Fridays still on Twitch. But of course, if you have questions about anything Sublime Text related, you do not have to ask those questions only here on YouTube. You can always ask questions inside of the Discord, my Discord, the forum, Stack Overflow, in the comments of any of the videos on the channel. And if the bot is actually in the chat and I set it up correctly, eventually that's going to respond with a link to my Twitch channel. Or alternatively, perhaps it won't, because Nightbot seems to be ridiculously slow on YouTube. In which case, twitch.tv/ODATnerd. I'm ODATnerd all across your dial. Hope everybody's having a great day. This is my first day back to streaming on YouTube in a while, but also I had all of last week off as a vacation. So I came back to work with 415 emails in my inbox, followed by a bunch of meetings. I swear, I don't get that many emails when I'm actually at work. I think people were just gaming me. I heard that all of the meetings that happened while I was gone included the phrase, "when ODAT Nerd gets back from vacation." Although, of course, they used my real name because I'm not that weird. In any case, fun times tonight, potentially. If anybody has questions, of course, feel free to shout those out in the chat for absolutely anything that you might be asking about Sublime Text or being curious of. I know Ayush asked a question in my Discord earlier today, but due to that whole 415 emails thing, I didn't have much of a chance to be able to look into it in any great detail. We can look into that. And a good friend from Twitch named Axel 669 has created a package for Sublime Text, or a plugin rather. It's the very first time he's ever done something like this, that allows you to serve files directly out of Sublime Text into a browser. And I did a little bit of a PR on that. He merged that in. Apparently, he's doing a ginormous refactor on his end, but I don't think that precludes us from being able to play around with stuff on our end to see if we could do something about it to make it cooler. Let's see if this one works better. Just to double check. I don't think it will. I think Nightbot is a little bit of a butt, which is the unfortunate. Or it takes a very long time for it to notice that I'm actually online. Either one of those things could potentially be true. In any case, I think we're pretty sure most of the glitches have been ironed out. Hey, fun fact, I did a major overhaul to how my stream scenes and such are set up over the past couple of months on Twitch. So as the first stream on YouTube, I had to try and replicate that exact setup, and it was causing me some serious issues. But hey, we're live, and a good time was had by all. Now, if I was to look over here, oh, hang on, I got a question. Question for you: if you use Bitwarden, and particularly if you have a spouse, how do you manage that amongst yourselves? Do you and your spouse each have your own distinct Bitwarden accounts that you each know the passwords to, or do you use their version that allows you to have an organization that you both belong to, and then you have to try to remember to move items to be owned by the organization as a whole, or some combination thereof? Let me know in the chat what you think about those sorts of things, and I will attempt to determine the question that Ayush had. I think it was in the plugin 101. There we go. Let's see. Whoop. You said he has a package to complete the functional calls from classes and local functions from other files and projects, etc. I'm done with the stuff that deals with recognizing the modules and functions, but I need help for the relative import of modules like import os.path as cuspath. How would I recognize that cuspath in this case is os.path and grab the functional call in os.path? I know my code is not up to mark, but I would be thankful if I could get any idea for this problem. And Ayush also shared a link. So if I go over to here, I believe I should be able to click this. And let's see. Boop. Well, the basis of your question is, I'm gathering, that if you had something here that up at the top of, is this the way that you're thinking this? From os.path import is file as Bob. Was that the gist of the operation that you had going on here? Or maybe you just have that particular kind. Import os.path as Bob, and then later on you have bob.isFile, and you want to be able to know that Bob is this. Is that the question that you're asking here? I would imagine that all roads here lead to doing more than just a casual analysis of the code. Hello, Half Pint. Foo, Bar, and Bob are the three main variables, unless you're doing something with a loop, and then of course it's always I, because I for increment, and J if you have two nested loops, and then K if you have three. There are certain standards that we follow. I suppose it's theoretically possible to do something like this with some sort of regex. If you were examining things and found certain patterns, you could keep a table to know that in this particular case, whenever you see Bob, it's actually os.path. I don't know how well that would work in the general case, though. It really seems like you would need to compile the code to an AST and allow that functionality to tell you what symbols are actually named what. And that's treading very deeply into the waters of what the LSP package does on its own. What's your particular use case for this? Are you just trying to create something similar to LSP, or do you have something else in mind as well? Let's see if I click in that again. Oh, G-Bound with the subscription. Hello and welcome. Why do I not have a notification sound in my ear telling me that that happened? I think I forgot to do the thing where the YouTube overlay actually outputs stuff. Let's see, advanced audio properties. I bet you YouTube overlay should actually say monitor and output, just like that. There we go. That'll do some stuff. Thank you for the subscription, G-Bound. Welcome to the YouTubes, where I tend to stream question and answer stuff about Sublime Text, but any and all questions are completely up for grabs, the same as they would be on Twitch as well. An intriguing question might be, why does the bot not want to join the channel? Perhaps I can play around with that for just a moment while we wait to see if or what Ayush's answer to that particular question is regarding what the use case for something like this is. Is it just for finding lookups for things to know? Are you trying to know that Bob is os.path so that you can provide completions for that particular module? What exactly is it are you trying to pull off here? And I'm going to go to here, and I guess we're going to need to do some logins, people, and potentially go mildly blind as a result of this screen being as bright as it actually is. If this Bob, I want to complete the stuff after the dot like base. Yeah, so you need to know that Bob is os.path in this particular case. Hang on while I tap a button on my phone. I'm pretty sure that was me that clicked that particular button, so we'll be okay with that one. And we want you. Yes, you may allow the bot to do the thing. Ah, you'd stream on YouTube as well, sir. Huh. No, that doesn't open people's profiles nearly as much as I thought it would. Pardon me. The scratch, that is actually not something that is publicly available as of yet. Let's see. Is there something in there? Oh, hey, how about if I click this? Hang on one moment. Oh. Okay, first of all, is it going to respond to it now? Because it decided it wasn't actually going to join the channel. So I'm kind of surprised, or not surprised that it wasn't actually going to respond to anything. Could still take it a few minutes to actually respond to things because it has historically always been particularly slow. Come along, my friend. Show me the money as regards to chats so I can close this window that's blinding me over here on the side. I mean, I'm totally logged in as me, right? Come on, guy. All right, well, I guess it's going to be a big old jerk, which is unfortunate because it has the link to the thing that I would actually be looking at here. But we're going to go to github.com and look up. Well, nope, it's probably in this particular organization. Anyway, the thing that you're actually looking for here, if I'm remembering appropriately where this thing is stashed, go into here, and then we go into bunk. This particular item here is the source of this. Wow, that's tiny. The source of this Scratch buffer plugin that I'm using here. Now, this isn't currently available in package control per se, you could add, well, I guess you can't add this because of the location that it's in. So you'd have to copy these couple of files into your user package or create a folder, and instead of the packages folder, and put them in there in order to enable this. One of the things we're going to be doing in upcoming streams here on YouTube is getting this ready to be posted to package control as an actual package, and working through all of the steps required to get it added to package control. And that's going to be the subject of a video on the channel in the Plugin 101 video series, all about how to get something that you've written into package control. This is going to be the candidate package for that. Let's see. Totally OT, but I'm in the beta pool for a new editor that seems to align with the design goals of Sublime. Lightning fast, native code, minimalist, made by the guy who made Atom. Lightning fast, you say? So they've stepped away from the idea of using Electron? Is this editor something that we can know the name of, or is it a secret beta pool? Oh, check it out. Nightbot's actually here to do stuff now. Thanks, guy. You rock, Nightbot. You rock. All right. I think it's slowly responding to commands that I gave it some number of minutes ago. So, good to go. Alrighty. Good grief. Okay, I can close this now because that's just going to make me ultimately extremely sad. So, I suppose we would have to look into your actual code here to see how you're doing this sort of thing. But as a more advanced way to do something like this, whoops. That's not what I meant to do. Thank you very much. We want the command browser browse command, complete with fancy icons in the code here as well. This particular plugin is also available in that scraps repository that I linked just above. I believe this might have actually showed up in one of the videos on no, I don't think it has. I don't think it's showed up in any of the videos on the channel yet because it requires Sublime Text 4 for some of the stuff that it's doing. But what this actually does is you say browse command list. It's a plugin that adds itself to the command palette, and when you pick it, it shows you a list of all of the commands that are built into Sublime Text. As plugins, not anything that's in the core. And we can find any one of these particular commands. For example, you might be interested in how the terminus exec command actually works. So you can pluck it. It tells us that this is a window command that is terminus exec that takes any and all arguments, which isn't entirely of any help, and that it's in the file terminus.terminus.commands, and choosing it opens that plugin and jumps us to the exact location of this so we could actually see how this stuff works. I do not use Electron-based apps unless there's a zero alternative. I tend to avoid on the whole myself where possible. I was actually looking into a few posts up on the YouTube. In which case it will have gone missing because YouTube hates me horribly. Anytime anybody posts a link, YouTube just silently eats it. It doesn't tell me that it's done it. I've specifically told it several times that I want links to be available, and yet it persists in nuking links, and I have no idea why. I was hoping that the problem might have gone away because I reconfigured a bunch of stuff, but alas, that is not the case. z.dev, should I Google it or should I just go directly there? Is that the web page or is that the name of the thing? Look, it's a lightning fast collaborative code editor. You didn't mention it was collaborative up there, did ya? The guys who made Atom made Electron, and they mentioned that decision in the write-up of Zed. They're going all native with Rust. Indeed. Or did you mean that you just mentioned it as Rust? I actually have, believe it or not, an application in Electron that I'm working on myself. Weird as that may be. Based on I want to be able to do HTML animations in my videos and capture them as overlays. And the easiest way to do that without weird aliasing artifacts or trying to key out colors in a captured browser is run a full screen Electron application with no window Chrome and a transparent click-through background on top of everything, which actually works fairly well. How long is the wait list to try this thing? We'll put you on the list to play with an early beta. Intriguing. Have they shared anything like screenshots of what it looks like? Is it going to be a graphical editor? Is it going to be like Vim and the like? Should I have clicked the link before I checked? Rust, GPU-powered UI framework. All right, that's nice. Tree Sitter. Well, I mean, everybody loves Tree Sitter. Things that differ are the fact that they want to have the best collab experience possible. Integrated chat that is aware of code locations and just lightning fast end-way programming with almost no issue. I mean, the person that invented Node is kind of unhappy about Node and went on to re-implement it in a project with a new name, right? There's a lot of that going around. One of the sometimes I wonder that didn't happen with JavaScript because it really sort of got caught out as the de facto language for being able to do stuff on the web, even though it didn't have a particularly solid design, and we're all paying the price to it even now. Deno, that's the thing, or Deno, I'm not sure. I've never looked into it too deeply, but it sounded like he was trying to resolve some of the problems that he had. Well, according to the page you use, if you go here, I can share a link. If anybody is interested, this is the page that I'm looking at. It's got a wait list, got a login. But yeah, is it going to be open source and the like? I'm not sure what I think about having an editor that's highly collaborative, because I tend to, I guess in this day and age of people working far away, it's probably a little bit easier. It would be very hard to resist the urge to not take over control from my my peers while I'm doing stuff. But oh, and thanks, Joseph. Pardon me. Getting back to the. Oh, whoop. Pardon me, I did not put my phone on do not disturb mode. I was going somewhere with this whole operation. Oh, right. The one way to do what you want to do here, Ayush, is to look for, using a regex, items of this type. And you could know that with an appropriate regex, this equates to this. It still requires you to have knowledge of the OS library, and that the OS library has a series of items in it, one of which is path, to be able to know that bob.basefile or bob.isFile is actually coming from os.path. As I said, I'm not sure, depending on what other stuff you're doing, that may or may not be all that you need to do for this. But one of the things that you could do in theory, this actually, now that I'm thinking about it, isn't the thing that does this. What's the thing that does this? Code that I shared with Terminal in the Sublime Text Discord for being able to do a thing in a place with stuff. Let's see if I go to, uh-oh. Oh, is chat not going into that window? Or is chat just turned off? Pardon me. I was playing around with some stuff. We want a little bit of that action. There we go. That's better. The associations from various things got broken. And let's see. I don't think this... Actually, this might be available in a gist. I could look. Dino only got publicity. Indeed. Yeah, I never looked too deeply into it, but my recollection was that he was the dude who came up with the idea for Node, and he worked with it for a while, and then he disappeared for a while. Then when he came back, he was mildly horrified at what he hath wrought, and decided that he could do it better and faster with hookers and blackjack. And possibly he decided to heck with that better and faster thing if it's basically still just the same situation as Node was. But I don't remember what particular problems that he saw that he thought he could resolve in a better fashion. Oh, is that the reason why it's better? Because it's written in Rust and not C++ or something? I have a recollection that it was something vaguely related to package structure or package ecosystem or something, but I'm probably putting my own bias onto that. There is a module that's built into Sublime Text, or sorry, into Python rather, that I'm using in this plugin sort of situation for Sublime Text that will allow you to actually compile, if you will, Python code into an AST and then examine it to know exactly what it was that it was doing, which seems like it would be the most foolproof way to ensure that you know about all of the resulting import mechanisms. But you probably have to be aware of the idea that import is actually sort of a wrapper around an internal function. I'm not sure offhand how that's actually conveyed. It's still V8, but it's written in Rust. Did they rewrite V8 in Rust? Is there any benefit in doing such a thing? That seems kind of weird. It's weird. So this particular bit of code here, which if anybody's interested in seeing, I'm pretty sure I have available as a gist, and I could dig up the link. But its whole purpose is to open up the zip file version of a portable copy of Sublime Text, grab out all of the files that represent the plugin system, which would be Sublime and Sublime plugin.py in Sublime Text 3, or the same files in the 3.3 and the 3.8 version, because there's two plugin hosts in Sublime Text 4. If you happen to be in those, compile the code down to an AST, then pull all of the module endpoints out that represent the plugin system and generate out a list of everything. And in this particular thing, it iterates over a series of zip files and will tell you in what of all of the versions that it examined, which, first of all, you get an overall list of everything that is in any of the APIs, and second, which probably needs to be updated now that I think about it, and then also it tells you in what initial version of Sublime Text those actually arrived, which is in service of the Snappy package, which wanted to have this kind of information before the official documentation started including it for newer builds. And it's the same thing that Terminal is using in the Sublime Text community documentation as well. Let's see. Rust uses an entirely different programming paradigm that eliminates tons of error classes that exist in C and C++. You can't have memory leaks or dangling pointers, etc. Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about that sort of thing in Rust. I've never actually used it as a language myself, though. But, oh my goodness. So I'm not sure if I answered your question specifically, Ayush, or not, but I would probably. Do you know how to make Sublime Text better for a PHP developer like me? Well, I don't use PHP myself specifically. Um, what sorts of problems are you having that you wish that Sublime had more support for? Because the first thing that comes immediately to mind is probably installing LSP and the PHP support package for LSP, assuming there is one, and I believe there is because Jack from the Sublime Text community uses it, if I remember. Ben, I'm not surprised to hear you say that because that many a language has made that kind of claim. You'll never have a dangling pointer again because we use garbage collection to make sure, except for that whole circular referencing thing that causes the garbage collection to spin on its ear. Or I accidentally held a reference to a 700 megabyte object and life went horribly awry for me. Uh, PHP support for Sublime's LSP provider through IntelliFence is one such item. I have a feeling that there's another, but I can't remember. Oh, this one. Sublime Linter PHP CS. Oh, that's Sublime Linter. Pardonnez-moi. It pulled out the LSP in a bizarre order there. I guess the easiest thing to do would be to look at the documentation for said package. But on the whole, probably the best thing that you can do off the top of my head would be to use LSP. You can use package control to install the LSP main package and then install a support package for the particular type of file that you're looking for, which again would probably be something like that one that popped up a moment ago. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I think there's another one. I can't remember the name. If you ask in the Sublime Text Discord, someone could definitely help you with that. But what that'll do is provide you with the same level-ish of completions and support that you might expect out of other editors like Visual Studio Code or WebStorm and the like. Essentially, it uses an external process called a server, but it still runs directly on your system that provides the high level of code knowledge that's required to do editing things like tell you that there's problems with your code, know that a particular object has certain methods so that it can perform auto completions for them and all that kind of stuff, which is the same sort of thing that Ayush is trying to create with his package here, because there's a couple of versions of LSP for Pythons. There's Pyrite and there's one other one which do the exact same thing but for Python. So they would be able to know in this particular case that Bob is os.path and be able to provide completions from that, and also signature help for function calls and that sort of thing. I don't have a lot of experience using this particular package myself. It's one of the things that we want to do in live streams coming up in future here on YouTube, to get more in depth with some of the packages and items that people want to see videos for, such as the question that you asked about being a PHP developer, or other people want to know about extra support for JavaScript or CSS or HTML if they're web developers. And there's generally packages that are good for that sort of thing, but since I don't do any of those things, I don't have a lot of first-hand experience. So in live streams, the goal is to actually play with those sorts of things and sort of get a sense. The community can guide exactly what it is that goes into videos that we're creating them. You can let me know what dumb thing I'm doing that's stopping things from working, and such like so. The general goal anyway, and the case in point there would be this plugin that Ayush created, which I also have a version of here. Pretty sure you have to go out of your way to force a memory leak in Rust, like you import special libs just to get into some more. Yeah. Every time someone says something is foolproof, someone discovers a bigger fool, I believe, is the paraphrase of the standard response to something like that. It's probably super hard to give you all of the power you need to do something super fast while also keeping you completely safe from yourself. There's a little bit of a give and take in there. C, historically, gives you enough rope to hang yourself and then shoot you in the foot. Hello. Banokazooie. I just moved into a Python role, excited to work with its new optional type system. Yeah, it's something that's added in later versions of Python. I have to admit a small modicum of ignorance in that particular area, because most of the Python that I have done for the past 5 or 6 years is creating packages and plugins for Sublime Text, and historically that's been Python version 3.3, which I guess it does technically kind of do something like that, perhaps. Is the compiler smart enough to, I don't even know about that. But I'm pretty sure that's one of those things that LSP helps you with as well, because the developers of LSP hang out in the Sublime Text Discord. Maybe they're even watching right now. And they, talk about and use that sort of thing all the time. But the LSP package and its new functionalities that have been added by, they're supported by new things added in Sublime Text 4 are awesome for the extra power that they're bringing in to things. 3.5. Yeah, I can't remember I just know that I don't recall it being a thing in Python 3.3, because 3.3.6 is what the legacy plugin host in Sublime Text uses. So that's the Python that I by far have used the most of. And I don't remember it being a thing there. Could be wrong. Much like standard JavaScript has no conception of making sure that you're not doing something silly like passing a string where a number is expected, and if it's a string that just happens to look like a number, magically things more or less kind of work out. The idea that Python has a similar thing kind of made me originally kind of nervous for that sort of thing, because I'm a C developer. I'm used to being very strict about what types people use. Well, if there's an LSP server, it's entirely possible that it would talk to the LSP package for Sublime Text. There's a list of some of them, as we just saw when we look in the list of things that are packages. If we search for LSP, well, maybe we'll wait for the pop-up to actually arrive before we search for LSP. It'll take a moment because it needs to download some stuff from a custom repository that I've set up. Good gravy. I have a lot of them. There's the actual core, and there's a few. These all packages that start with LSP- are essentially helper packages which do the work of installing the LSP server for you, so you don't have to. But you're not constrained to using any of those. If there is a server that is LSP related that works in Visual Studio Code, you could use the exact same server in Sublime as well. Not saying that you necessarily need to do that sort of thing or want to do that sort of thing if you're already using Visual Studio Code, though. Something that I mention a lot in the Twitch streams that I do, and I'm going to mention here as well, even though this is a channel dedicated by and large to Sublime HQ and Sublime Text in particular for right now, Sublime Merge coming soon, and I personally am a fan of Sublime Text and use it for all of my text editing. We never do any sort of tool shaming in any of the streams here, because the appropriate tool for any given job is going to depend on the job you're doing, the person who's doing it, and how that person can get their work done the best. And there's no one right fit for everybody to get the productivity they want out of any particular tool. If you're not used to working a certain way, or you'd rather work a different way, then often you find yourself fighting the tool, trying to make it do what you want, when it would be a lot easier to just use something that does exactly what you want. And maybe there's a speed difference there, or a memory footprint, or there's something that's not quite as good about some aspect, but it's a give and take. I, for example, used Vim as my main editor for 2 decades before I found Sublime Text, and decided that that was going to be the new place with which I did all of my editing. Indeed. Now, I have always been of the opinion that when I started coding, and I just recently turned, I believe, 47 a couple of weeks ago, second week of December, or September rather, and I first started writing code in grade 5, at which point I was 10. So I've been in one form or another writing code for 37 years in a variety of different languages. I started in BASIC on an old ColecoVision Atom computer, and then moved on to an IBM 8088 actual XT running at 4 megahertz with Python, and then moved on, Pascal, and then moved on to C and C++ and a variety of other languages along the way. And as a result, I tend to think that IDEs aren't necessarily super great. They're awesome if you know exactly what it is that you're doing, and they provide you a productivity boost. But if you're a new person, they shield you from how the tools are actually doing things behind the scenes, and that kind of robs you of knowing that you need to compile 2 C files and link them together with a linker in a particular way in order to get the executable that you want. When you get further down in your programming career, for example, if you don't have that knowledge and that ability to troubleshoot problems, you could run into serious issues because your IDE has been shielding you and you didn't have to do anything. All that said, we don't shame IDEs in any stretch of the imagination. Just because I don't like them doesn't mean that other people don't like them. But I've always been strongly of the opinion that Java is a language that screams out for an IDE, just based on the fact that the files that make up your application need to have a structure that mimics everything, and it is just a gigantic pain in the rump to try to keep that engineered. Oh, is Pylance not open source? There's a difference between not wanting to write a makefile and being able to write a makefile, but you just happen to use a tool that does it for you. Because if there's a problem with the makefile that your tool generated, if you don't know how to create one, then you're basically looking at a giant pile of gibberish trying to figure out what it is that it's actively doing behind the scenes. See, for example, any makefile that was generated by the GNU AutoConf tools. Hello, Johnny. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm gonna click the link on that one because I keep forgetting that I can actually do that now. But indeed, yeah, it's thank you so much for the kind words. We're going to be doing some stuff for Sublime Merge as well, coming soon. Oh, I see we have a little bit of extra work that Axel did here behind the scenes. What do you guys think about how do you collaborate with someone who uses tabs when you use spaces or vice versa, particularly in a language like Python, for which it makes a significant difference which one of those you use, and you're not allowed to mix them? Because I'm sort of at a mix of how Axel created something cool here, but he's using tabs and not spaces, and I am very much not a tabs kind of guy. Let's take a look at what it was that he did. So basically, I think it's possible that Axel might have accidentally leaked his real name. In one of those commits. I wonder if he realizes that. The general gist of this, for anybody that's new to this that isn't a member of my Discord, Axel669 is a friend from Twitch who's a fellow developer. I stream there a couple of days a week doing development work, usually bot-related stuff, and stream overlay things and the like, so that we can do stuff like this, for example. Yeah, indeed. And he is a Visual Studio user, a VSC, Visual Studio Code, who, for at least a brief period, discarded it and moved to Sublime Text because they did something to the terminal that's built in so that it wouldn't let you use PowerShell anymore. Or it forced you to use PowerShell, and he wanted to use a different shell. I can't remember which way that went. But in any case, his entire workflow was absolutely destroyed by the tool deciding for him what was the appropriate shell to be using inside of the terminal, which made absolutely no sense to anybody as I understand it. So he moved to Sublime Text, spent some time setting it up. One of the things that he was missing from Sublime Text was the idea of, yes, he is. He totally went live just as I was going live. That was the noise that my phone made when I realized I didn't turn it on. As a matter of fact, I could probably be viewing him on that monitor over there right now. But what he was missing was a package for Sublime that would allow you to serve files out of a particular directory. Because he's a web developer, so you want to be able to work on a website and then serve files directly out of the folder in which those files are contained quickly and easily. And he didn't find anything that was suitable. I think he found something, but he either couldn't get it to work or it didn't work the way he wanted it to. So he he wrote his very first Sublime Text plugin to do something like that, and I got him to post it up on GitHub on Thursday of last week. And then on the Friday stream, on my Friday Twitch stream, we wrote a few simple changes to it to solve some of the more immediate problems that he had. One was that every time the plugin reloaded, it would keep the servers that were already running. So in order to test things, you kept having to quit Sublime and restart it. So we added a very simple hook so that whenever the plugin gets unloaded, i.e. because it's being saved and it's being reloaded, or it was added to the list of ignored things and it's being unloaded, that it actually tell the server to stop running so that we don't have to worry about that sort of thing. There was also a slight issue in that he's tracking when files, the active files are being changed around to be able to put something in the status bar that says that there's a server, running. And there are more things that are views than just files, which is something that I've covered in the Plugin 101 series. Axel wasn't aware of it, but for example, this is a view, but also this input in the console is a view, and this is a view, although you can't type anything into it and such. So there was a bit of a problem where it assumed that every view had a window, and it didn't. We solved that particular problem as well, and then just added a little bit of extra stuff so that you could serve files out of something. And he merged that in and accidentally doxed himself by providing his name, and then changed what appears to be a bunch of cool stuff. I was forced to. Yeah. So did they ever solve this? Banjo-Kazooie? Did they solve this issue, or is it still a thing? And do you know why it was that they did that? Because he was, like I said, I couldn't remember which way it went, but he was very unhappy at not being able to use the shell that he wanted to use. And I knew that it meant it included PowerShell, but I couldn't remember how that went, because I know that PowerShell seems to be the default. At least the people at work that are using Visual Studio Code are using it. If he has something that determines indent. Now, actually, maybe this is an interest. Maybe he actually did that himself. Update code, separate thread logic to new file. So we added a new file. So now there's that file and there's this file. Note that look how weird this is. This file is indented using spaces, but this one is indented using tabs. Pick a format, man. The fix only worked for this is weird, right? I don't know what it was that they actually did. I would be angry about that as well. I should be better about using PowerShell on the whole, because some of my coworkers are using it, and I tend to have to help them with things. So if I knew more about PowerShell in general, I've only ever written one PowerShell script, which allows our VPN network to work while inside of the WSL2 Linux host on Windows, because the version of Cisco NeVPN that we're running is kind of old and isn't aware that it should set up routing properly. So I created a script which, if you run it not as administrator, it reruns itself asking to be elevated to administrator, and then does some magic stuff, which is the part that I didn't write, that fiddles with the network a little bit. That was a line that was available. Basically, someone at work said, every time you have a problem connecting, just paste this into PowerShell. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to remember that for exactly 10 minutes. So how about if I create a script that I can run, and then life will be a lot better. I get the sense that it's fairly powerful, particularly as compared to, say, how Windows batch files work in general, which, showing my age, it's probably been at least 2 decades since I've done anything of any great import with batch files in any version of Windows. The last time I remember doing that, I was using 4DOS and 4NT, the replacement for the standard command processor that provides extra abilities for creating scripts, because I found the one that was built into the DOS command prompt at the time a little bit not great, if you will. Note also the difference between the commit messages that were made by Excel and the commit messages that were written by me. Which is also one of those things that I find kind of funny, because we have the same problem at work. And we recently got a mandate that said that anytime there's actually a pre-commit hook in place that stops any merge from being committed if it doesn't mention the Jira story for which it's merging, because everybody is writing their commit messages like this, and whenever there's a continuous build error, we know that there's something that happened between version 1.11 and 1.10, but trying to track down what it was is a gigantic pain in the butt. Let's see. Abhishek Sanjay wants to know how to create our own snippets. Let's cover that. And hello, Ashwin. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing this fine morning? Well, I hope. hope everybody had a great weekend, and hopefully also a better day at work for your Monday if you go, or at school if you didn't, than I did, because I came back from vacation to find a mailbox that was overflowing. I was cautiously optimistic that the reason was that Outlook wasn't running while I was gone. And so things didn't get filtered properly to the appropriate folders, but it turns out that that wasn't the problem at all, and everybody just decided to have all the conversations while I was gone. So how do you create your own snippet? That's very easy. We can go into Tools, Developer, New Snippet. I've also added this to my command palette. And when we hit this, this is going to create a stub snippet file right up in here for you. And all you have to do is put the content of what you want to be inside the snippet in here. Like, this is where the snippet content goes, like so. And literally, that's enough. If I save this, it's going to offer to put it, as you can see, in my user package. It can be anywhere inside of your user package. It can be anywhere inside of any package, but it needs to be inside of a package. And give it a name that you know what it is. We'll call this one sample.sublime snippet, for example. And that's enough for this snippet to be actually active. I'm going to close a couple of these files that we no longer need. But if I was to open this and say snippet, there's one named sample, because that's what I named the file. And hitting it inserts the content of the text. Yes, I did. This, I know you probably can't see, maybe you can. There's a TV on top of it as well. That is the new monitor for when I'm doing videos in that area right back there. That is connected to the camera so that I can see that I'm framed properly and in focus and all that good stuff. And also, I can use it to watch YouTube videos and the like. And right now, it's pulled all the way away from the wall so that I can actually see the monitor, because one of the box lights that I use to light my videos would otherwise be right in front of it. You can indeed use multiple cursors in snippets. So there's a couple of things that we can do here. Let's also say this. Get video link. And the video link we probably want is... First of all, there's a video on the channel related to snippets and how to use them. That's that one right there. That'll probably cover a lot of the same stuff that we're doing here. This part inside of and include the C data here is this text of the snippet that will eventually get inserted, however it gets inserted. You might be enticed to remove these characters because you think you don't need them. But then you might find that when you try to use the sample snippet, it generally tends to not work. Maybe that's been solved in a recent version of Sublime Text. Hard to say. I would recommend not going that particular route. Leave that stuff in there. The cursor always goes to the end of the inserted text, no matter what. If you were to include something like $0, $0 is the place where the cursor initially ends up. I'm going to wrap this inside of braces to make sure that's not ambiguous. So now when we trigger the snippet, the cursor ends up in that location. And you can also do something with what we would refer to as fields. And there was an example of that way back when this actually was inserted. It says this is a snippet, and when we invoke that one, we can see that this is a word. And then we hit tab, goes to the next one, snop it, and then you hit tab and it goes to the end and is done. You can have more than one of those. So if this was also a 1, like this, then when we insert this, you'll notice that the same word appears in both, and the cursor appears in both, and what you type appears in both. And then tabbing exits the snippet. You can use as many of those as you like if you want to have multiple cursors in there. I don't believe it's possible to use multiple $0s, mind you. Uh, you know, I wish there. I would imagine that I'm a moderator inside my own channel. I mean, you'd assume that that would be the case, right? That's not what I meant to do. But I don't even see links when anybody else posts them. I don't know why. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm gonna test that because I've never actually tested that. I would imagine that the answer to this question is it's not going to work, but we could be we could be encountering an astounding power tip right now if when we inject this, there's two cursors in those two places. Check that out. That's pretty boss. I've never done that before. Just to quickly cover a couple of extra things about snippets, as you can see here, this tab trigger is commented out if you provide one. That's the text that would allow it to trigger. So now I can type hello and hit tab and the snippet expands. Similarly, when you look in the command palette, when it says snippet sample, it'll show you that hello and tab will invoke that. And there's also this that constrains the location into which you can actually expand the snippet. So with none, it works everywhere. Now it's only going to work in Python. So if we try to type hello and hit tab, it doesn't work. The snippet here, if we did snippet, it doesn't appear here, but over in this Python file, if we do snippet, it will appear. And you can choose it and expand it out. And lastly, you can also include a description tag. Make sure you spell it right, not like the video that I created. Come on, man. What do we do? What are you doing to me here, dude? And if there was some text in here, then when you look at the snippet in the menu, unless I broke it. I broke it. What did I break? Is it not called the description? Pretty sure it's called description. Pretty sure. Should give you an actual description of what the snippet actually does. Let's see. Microsoft demoed their .NET multi-platform app UI. Oh. Right, C# sits over technology for Android. Ooh, does this mean that you can use .NET code to write GUI applications for Linux now? Because I've been waiting for that for years. Which would be entirely cool. Why is it doing that? Tell me what I'm doing wrong, Ashwin. Well, of course it's not going to work in there. Hang on. Let's do this. Item name. There you go. Boosh, hello, tab. So you can include description to change it from the name of the file to that. And the reason why that wasn't working previously is because I was looking for sample, even though I had renamed it. Smart Party. This is the sort of stuff that you don't see me fumbling with when I'm doing stuff in my videos. The most powerful feature of snippets I find is the regex transformations. Indeed, that is also a pretty handy deal. Examples of that. One word goes here. And do we remember exactly how this works off the top of our heads? Probably put the $ on that to make sure that that works out. So that'll work anywhere now, right? That did not do what I thought it was going to do. I think it's a slight possibility that I may have been doing a little bit too much JavaScript lately. Let's see. Check the Python class snippet. Okay. Boop. Do. Oh, I put the colon in there when I wasn't supposed to. That's the deal. That's probably more like what we want, right? Not quite. Not quite, my friend. Let's see what we got here. Slash text. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, was I not supposed to throw that G on the end there? Is that confusing it? This is one of the things that I don't do super often when I'm using snippets. Possibly that doesn't do what I think it does because I'm using the wrong flavor of... Oh, maybe I need to not be a fool about it. Oh. Will that work? Do I need to wrap this in a... Well, let's find out. We're experimenting here. Nope. Boop. Maybe we need to do a little bit of that action. And now it's always uppercase there. No mention of Linux in presentation, but I did see there's a community effort to bring it to Linux. Awesome. I would love to see something like that. I have written X applications in the past and GTK applications, but it would be cooler to do something like that and whip up simple little utilities. I believe we probably want to have that G on the end of that after all. So you can go. This is lowercase, but the expansion of it is always uppercase. Get there in the end. So what did we learn there? You can only use the regex substitution on alternate parts. This colon and the word specifies what the default value for this is, by the way. I can't remember if that video that I linked above actually talks about regex stuff. I don't think that it did. Obviously, I would probably have remembered it slightly better. But it's a fun little thing to be able to easily knock stuff up. Let's get rid of that bad boy. We don't need you, my friend, and we don't need you either. I think we're good on that particular thing. We can redact all of that back. You cannot move the sidebar to the right-hand side. No, it has to stay on the left, at least for now. Possibly the developers are working on adding it to the right, but there's not an option for doing that currently. Similarly, the panels that appear on the bottom of the window, such as these ones here, telling me that my laptop went to sleep, or things that the YouTube package that I use to look up videos for the channel, these go on the bottom. There's no way to move these anywhere else either. Always on the bottom. Though I have a vague recollection that Ben mentioned that either the sidebar is potentially moving to the right, or panels are potentially allowed to move to the sides, or maybe it was just that panels will have tabs. I'm not entirely sure. Windows 11 is out today. Is that, or alternately, do you think that I haven't really looked into it at all. Basically, my daily driver for most everything is this Linux box. We do have Windows machines, And my work laptop, which is sitting right there, is also a Windows 10 machine, which we just recently got updated to a recent version of Windows 10. Originally, it was running a version that was like Windows 10 from 2018. So that tells you where we were on the upgrade path for that. I can't imagine when we're actually going to get to Windows 11. Let's see what we got going here. It's not wrong info. Oh, I wonder. It's not wrong info. Uh-oh. Oh, I wonder. Pardonnez-moi. Apparently, I clicked through a tab that I was using to pop out my chat, and now we get to hear myself for just a moment as it spooled itself up before I could turn it off. Good times were had by some. We know there's links. We know Nightbot is a moderator. What I'm curious is, any package if we copy that will give us a link right into Sublime, like a paste bin? I tend to use Windows for a similar thing, Half Pint. Also, that's more and more being supplanted by games also being available on Switch, because being able to just put it away and then pick it up later is definitely where it's at. If we did a little something like this, and I put this in the appropriate location, paste bin. This is a simple plugin to paste the current selection to a paste bin and return the URL. There appears to be a couple of those. So let's see. Send to paste bin was first seen 10 years ago, last modified 2 years ago, and paste bin Sublime Text was modified 6 years ago. So of both of these operations, this one is probably the one that's slightly more up to date. I don't use these sorts of things myself. It looks like this one requires a little bit of extra stuff in order to set it up out of the box. I'll paste this in here. That one is, well, actually, you know what? We'll do it this way. This will give you the couple that are there. Now, one of these was last modified a couple of years ago. That could mean that it's an old defunct package that's horribly out of date and doesn't work and will cause bags under your eyes to get so big that your head falls inside of them. Or it could just be that there hasn't been any exciting enhancements in the realm of sending text to paste bin and getting a link back, and the author hasn't seen any need to actually implement anything any further in it. I can go either way on that one. The only way to know is to actually look. Let's see. I want to upgrade, but it looks like there's a compatibility issue with Windows 11. And you need VirtualBox for Linux, don't you, Ashwin? If I remember correctly. I think you said you do something like that. Yeah, I mean, I find that a little suspect too. On the other hand, I kind of like what Sublime has done with we don't need version numbers. What if we said that there's just a product and it's just always up to date and constantly being worked on? But I guess there's some action in which people are concerned that people aren't, actively updating things if you don't see the numbers changing and going up to give you that impetus to know that something's happening. That is not showing squat doodle. Bam. Let's see what we got. Oh, I see. We're not even going to show anything in that one. Thanks. That's entirely helpful, sir. Well, I think they shouldn't have chosen the name Windows 10. They could have just called it Windows. Now, there's potentially an argument for saying that maybe Sublime HQ shouldn't have removed version numbers from Sublime, although it's officially not there, but we're just referring to it as Sublime Text 4 anyway, because otherwise it's impossible to distinguish a new version from an old version in casual conversation without dropping in what build number you have. But Sublime HQ is a relatively small development house with only 6 engineers. Windows, on the other hand, is Microsoft's flagship product. It's the thing that's powering large portions of the computers on the planet on a daily basis. I dare say nobody is too concerned, probably, that Windows is just going to be defunct and go away. But I get updates prompt of Sublime Text when I start, even when I download and install. Are you sure you're downloading the latest version? It should only tell you that you're not running the latest version if you can do help about, and the version number that you see is the version number that you downloaded. Oh, I guess it's 5 now because Ben is gone, right? Or, sorry, Will is gone. Ben's not gone. Ben's still there. That's a good point. I forgot about that. I'm so used to throwing off the number 6 on that. If you're sure that you have the latest version, now I'm running the latest Sublime Text 4 version. If the problem is that you're using Sublime Text 3 and it keeps telling you that there's a newer update, there is a solution to that particular problem, which would be to say preferences, settings, and then in your settings add update check and set it to false, like so. And as we can see here, check for updates on startup. You have to have a license to be able to do that. From your keyboard to Sublime HQ's ears, Ashwin. Apart from those, Abhishek, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and apologies if I'm not, I can't think of any reason why it would keep telling you. Something to keep in mind. Oh, so you said even if you download and install from the Sublime website. So if you set up the general thing on Linux, I don't fall into that particular category. I use the tarballs that you would use the package manager for your system to keep you always up to date. Indeed, yeah. If you're using Sublime Text 4, then there's a new box here that tells you what the current version is, what the latest version is, and you can automatically set the setting. As a matter of fact, we might even see that file being modified when I click that box. It's down there at the bottom now. Donk. I would assume that it should. Yeah, now it's true. Now it's false. Now it's true. Very handy thing. You have to be running literally one of the latest builds of Sublime Text 4 to be able to do something like that. You can also directly open the changelog, which, of course, opened in the wrong window, but it takes you to the page where you can download stuff as well. Exciting new stuff. It's probably going to need a video about that, huh? When the next stable build comes out, I guess, and it'll actually be possible to demonstrate some stuff in a sane fashion. The theory, anyhow. I do not. Oop, don't need you. Don't need you, my friend. I do not see. Nope. There's just the setting that says that people are allowed to use links if they want to. Why is it not allowing it? I don't understand, man. Oh, I can create a highlight video and add a stream marker. That's exciting. I believe so. Yes, that, or at least that sounds correct to me. Let's see. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant to do. Pardon me. I meant to do this. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Yeah, 4113 is the latest stable build. I just always run the latest build no matter what. So right now, if we were to click on the download and say dev builds, I'm running 4116, I would imagine, unless something horrible has just happened. But I believe that's the version that we were looking at just a moment ago. Yeah. There's the dev channel and there's the stable channel. The way that that works, for anybody that's unfamiliar, is that every time a new build of Sublime Text is released, the build number is increased by 1. And it's part of either the stable channel or the dev channel. The stable channel, as the name suggests, is the stable builds that have been tested by the community and seem to contain no bugs, or at least none that are easily reproducible, and are considered to be candidates for you to use on your day-to-day journey for editing text. And after a stable build happens, there's a series of one or more dev builds where new features are added, bugs are fixed. They're provided to people that want to use those versions to test to make sure that everything's good. And then once they're good, it gets promoted to be a stable build. And when that happens, the build number changes up by 1 and the build becomes stable. So there's the current stable build, the current dev build is always the most recent version of changes that have been made. But if they have been released, then there's a stable build that's one build higher. You'll never see another dev build with a higher number or an equal number until there are more changes made. But yes, I live on the bleeding edge of this stuff. And as has been pointed out previously in the channel, I have a little bit of an issue with having every version of Sublime Text back to the last released version of Sublime Text 2, and then every version of Sublime Text 3 that was ever released, and every version of Sublime Text 4 that's ever been released, and every version of Sublime Merge that's ever been released as well. So I can easily swap between these and test if there are regressions. How to make rainbow brackets package run by default. Is that something that is available in package control? Let's take a look. That's not something that I use myself, but rainbow brackets plugin for Sublime Text 3. So let's see what it says. Well, clone or download this repository if you install package control. Boop, boop, boop. Toggle, make rainbow, clear rainbow. So is the idea of this that you have to make rainbow in order to turn it on? Is that how this works? Well, you know what? Let's play with it and see. We can do those sorts of things. So let's see. Install package. Let's fire this bad boy up. It's going to download the list of packages again. For those that may not be aware, there's a new version of Sublime Text 4 of its package control on the horizon, with extra support for Sublime Text 4 and its ability to install libraries. That's going to make life a lot better for package developers such as myself, which inherently makes life better for people that are actually using packages as well. Rainbow brackets. So let's see. We installed this bad boy, and then what did it say that the thing was actually called? Make rainbow, clear rainbow. So I'm assuming we need to do something like make rainbow, and they go all rainbow-like, and then we can clear rainbow. Whoops. To make it go away. So the question is, how can you make it automatically do that every time or a new file is created or a file is opened, I guess. Let's take a look. Let's go up here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at the code for this thing just to see. Yeah, I believe that would be, well, not just on load. I would do something like this. New plugin, we would want a class rainbow event listener. I was just looking to see if it maybe had some sort of setting or option. Sublime plugin dot. And we would want on load async. That's going to load a view. And then we can say on new async. Is there an on new async, or am I misremembering that? Yes, there is. And we would say something like view dot run command. And the command that we want to run, well, we would need to use view package file and look for the rainbow brackets commands file to see that the make rainbow is this command with these arguments. So we'll just copy that. We'll plunk it down. Oh, pardon me. We'll plunk that down in here and remove this. Plunk. Don't need the pass. And then we can save. Save this as, I'll save it as untitled for the time being. So, in theory, whoops, I probably should have said scratch. Is that going to trigger? Is that going to trigger? It's probably going to trigger. We'll find out. Let's open a file, shall we? Did that actually do anything? Is that not a window command? Is that not a window command? Well, let's see. Let's browse command list for rainbow brackets. Is it just me, or did the colors of these things change? It's a window command. That's weird. We can resolve that though. Boop. There we go. This file loaded and rainbow brackets are automatically turned on. And if we created a new buffer and then set the syntax to Python and then said def, that also now has that as well. So simplistically, thus, pardon me. The question that I would have is, let's see, on load for when a file is actually loaded, on new for when you create a new tab, it would automatically have it enabled. You don't necessarily have to do that. Would you like me to throw this into a gist for you so that you don't have to enter it yourself? This one triggers whenever a new file is finished loading, and on new async triggers when a new tab is created. You can leave that part out if you only want to do it for files that are actively loaded. Does toggling it for one thing, I guess here's a question that I might have. You cannot do that, no. Is it just me, or is this green more vivid than it was before? This did something to my color scheme, didn't it? I think this did something to my color scheme. In order to add in the colors that it needs, and it changed what is green. The closest you can get to grouping tabs would be to split the window in two and then have tabs over here, and then tabs over here. But as you can see, that gives you half the space for them. If you're using Sublime Text 4, you can kind of get the idea of a group by doing that, but then you see the contents of all three of those files simultaneously, which takes up even less left space. So on the whole, that is not something that is possible. It's also not possible to pin tabs or have the icon for the file type displayed up there either. It is definitely a really robust green color. I guess, there we go. User color schemes, rainbow brackets, Mariano. Oh, thanks, guy. It generated almost 700 character long file, but this is where those particular colors are coming from. So if I commented that out, whoa, he gets real mad about that. Don't do that, guys. It needs to be something like that, I guess. Then it would go back to the standard slightly muted colors. Whoosh. Okay, let's close that window up. I'm going to say that this looks a lot more vivid than I was otherwise expecting. Oh, yeah, there's a thing I was going to test. If this wasn't here, then when we create a new tab and syntax, whoops, and syntax Python it, and then say this, that still seems to be turned on. Let's quit and restart just to make absolutely for sure that things are going to work the way that we want. Nope. Nope. So let's go. Whoops. Nothing there. And then if we this is just something that I'm testing because I hate when that happens. As we like to say, drop the blast shields. If I make rainbow here, does it not make it here? Yes. Okay. So this is indeed the plugin that you want for that. It's not doing things that it doesn't necessarily need to do. And I am running Slackware Linux 14.2 with the latest security updates installed. And I'm currently running, XFCE 4.12 as the window manager that I'm using at the current time. Just for giggles. We need one of these. Indent is 4. And then we'd say something like, this requires that the rainbow brackets package be installed. And then we, go to find that page that we were looking at previously, where we want, let's see, U and rainbow brackets. Thusly, copy this over here, just so anybody that looks at this actually knows what it is. And we'll go optional. And we will create a public gist because there's nothing super secret about this particular operation. And for anybody that's interested, if you're using something like this, example of a simple plugin. And there's also, of course, if you're interested in creating plugins for Sublime Text, or not necessarily creating them, but knowing how it is that they work, I have a video series on the channel called Plugin 101 that goes into that in some detail. So if you wanted to create one, that'll teach you how to do it. And if you just want to be able to look at existing plugins, say to try to gauge what it is they're actually going to do so that you'll know if they're safe, or to be able to tweak things a little bit and you need to know exactly how things are working behind the scenes, great video resource for that. And as previously mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream, there's going to be some more content for that coming sometime soon, because this particular plugin that I personally have been using for, as it shows here, 4 years, is something that Ashwin in particular has stated he also uses, and it would be nice if it was on package control. And we want to create a video on how to have a package added to package control, and this is one of the ideas that we had for being able to do that. Tweak this up a little bit to polish it up and make it into more of a distinct package, and then do a video on how you would actually go about adding this, and that will allow us to actually carry out all of the steps needed to add the package to package control without trying to mock it up, and more importantly, getting people that are responsible for that from getting mad at us. There's also been bandied about by me, we've discussed it in my Discord, the idea of if we could come up with a very small, simple toy language, we could do a whole video series on adding or creating a package from scratch for language support for something, like working on a syntax for it, creating snippets and completions, maybe some plugins as well, like an auto completion of some sort, how to get things into the symbol list, and all of that stuff, which would be a great way to tie all of the information together. If you're aware of a really simple toy language that doesn't already have a package for Sublime Text that we could use for something like this, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to have to try to create one, and that's like a whole extra kettle of fish, if you will. We're going to come back over to this file, though. I'm going to delete that, and we'll quit and restart. Isn't it great how snappy this thing is when it restarts? It's so great. So let's go open package, and let's take a look at what Axel has actually done with this thing. Let's see, we'll do a little bit of that and size that to, whoops, right there. Did I mention in the pro tips on getting familiar with the Sublime Text user interface that double-clicking on this split sizes the sidebar to be exactly as wide as it needs to be for any given situation? All right, we got some... Oh, I see where he may be kicking this up a fair bit. He's got an actual test page here. I'm not sure in what state he actually left this. Excellent. I still have strong recollections of one of the videos on build systems said that, you know, right click on the panel chooser and you can pick any of the consoles or any of the panels that are here, including, you know, build systems. And someone on Twitter was like, I've been using Sublime Text for 7 years and I never knew that existed. Mind blown. And I thought that was pretty cool that I managed to pull something like that off. Let's see what Axel said. It's a pretty big refactor, is all he said. I'm going to bring in your PR and then reduce some of the code using the window settings you showed. Oh, yeah. So Axel and I, in a Twitch stream, went over the code that he had in this package initially. And I covered some ideas for changing exactly how it was that he was doing some stuff. How to increase the font size of names in the file folders in the sidebar explorer. Wow, you do ask the tricky questions. Hang on a second. Let's remove. Let's remove that. And I'm going to need to, hang on 1 second here. CD, so we have RM minus RF color schemes. Yeah, I know you're going to get angry about that. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do, guy. That file that just doesn't exist anymore. What if we just quit that and restart? And life is going to be good again. I need my muted colors. That would be something related to the theme of things. So color schemes allow you to do things like say that these tags should glow and highlights to show you that they match, for example, or that this should be purple and this should be red and this should be white and all that sort of stuff. Changing anything else like the shapes of tabs or the size of that text or the size of this stuff is all something related to the theme. I don't do a ton of stuff related to theming. However, one source for that would be, say, Sublime theme docs. That's going to link directly to the appropriate page, which I probably could have gotten to by just clicking that, but nevertheless. So I'm going to plunk that in here because I can. That's the page that I'm looking at right now. This is Slackware Linux using the XFCE window manager. Slackware has the distinction of being one of the few distributions, or maybe the only distribution of Linux that doesn't use systemd. It still uses old style initd scripts, if you're familiar enough with Linux to know what that means. So let's see if we did sidebar. I guess simplistically, here's what you can do. This requires you to use Sublime Text 4, and it kind of requires you to be using one of the default themes. We can probably use this as a demonstration. I'm going to say UI customize theme like this. Let's see what we see in here. We see a bunch of variables. I'm going to do this. Now this window that opens here works the same as settings and key bindings and the like. This is the default adaptive theme because that's what I'm using, and this is my version of the adaptive theme. Anything I put in my file on the right augments everything over here. So in my particular version of the theme, I have extra rules so that the colors of the names of files match the get status, whereas by default you would just see those little colored blobs there. And I also probably can't see, pardon me, see this here. I modified the variables that specify untracked files are sort of a yellowy color, which is that one there, I would believe. Modified files are more blue. Missing files are red. Staged files are purple. If I add something, it's green. If I delete it, it's red. And if there's a conflict, it's also red. Those are changes that I made to this thing. And I also made the tab connector be slightly different as well. The newer themes in Sublime Text 4 have extra stuff over here that are variables that describe how the theme works overall. So if you want to tweak things, you can change the variable. Now, there's various font sizes associated with things, but it doesn't look like there's one related to the font size for items in the sidebar. So potential issue with that, I suppose. You can sort of get a sense for what it is that these are actually doing over here. I need to know, oh, those are files that you can't actually see. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to modify this file. So now this file is modified and it looks a little bit blue. So let's say we look at this and know that this is how we're setting the font size for things. Then we go say that the one that is modified is this. And I believe we should be able to come on, guy. Put the actual comma. That should have no effect on anything, but if we were to look over here and see that font size is generally 12, if I change this to this, then in theory those file sizes jump way up. Let's see if it works. So that's one way to do something like that. But as you can see, that's not a perfect solution to this particular problem because the sidebar, oops, sorry, the buttons are the buttons aren't exactly the same size now, but you know, I guess that's not too terrible. Knowing that that actually works, we could modify the rule because all we really need is a rule whose class is sidebar label and whose parents are a file system entry, but we don't need the attribute for untracked. And then we need to put a comma here, and then we just take this thing that we did and plunk it up here, and then all of the files get to be ginormal. That's probably a little bit too big. You might want to do something like, you know, large in this particular case, or you could just type a number in here like 18. Although I'm kind of surprised. Oh, sorry, pardon me. You probably want a little bit something like that. So the short answer to your question is use UI customize theme from the command palette and then add this to the rules section. Change size as appropriate. You could also change the font face as well. I wonder. This could conceivably one of those things that we play around with in a stream and I leave it in there and then decide that I can't live without it. But of course, oh, sorry. Right, I forgot. This is not the window that I normally do this stuff in. I added this. So, are you using Sublime Text 4? Because if you are, then you will see an item called UI Customize Theme in here that will open this split window, and it'll make sure that the file on the right is the one that you actually need. If you're not using Sublime Text 4, if you're using Sublime Text 3, then use package dev and do edit current theme instead. Both of those do the exact same thing, only package dev is a package that you would actually have to install. Shiny booleans. Yeah, exactly. See, now if I leave this here, the problem is that this actually takes up more space for the sidebar. And that's also funny because now it's not correctly sizing as well. I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is. As I said, I don't do a ton of theming. There's probably more nuance to this than just that. Uh, that UI scale will also work, but it changes absolutely everything. So let's do this. We can show that actually happening. And in order to do something like that, you go into your user preferences, which you can do using preferences, browse packages, and the like. But you could set UI scale to something. 1 is the normal scale. 0 is auto detection. We could set this to be 2, for example. You have to quit Sublime for this to take any sort of effect whatsoever. And when you open it, absolutely everything is twice as big as it was before. So in certain cases, this might exactly be what it is that you want. I actually, for a while, was doing something like this in the version of Sublime that I used to create my videos to make sure that it was more visible. This is also the magic by which I created the color scheme, the graphic for the thumbnails for my videos. The UI scale is something ridiculously hideous like this. Then there's just the one file. You'd have to have one. I created a brand new window, and then I probably did something like created a new tab. Set the view dot set scratch true, and whoops, view dot set name Sublime Text. And then I probably did view.settings.set gutter false. Can't see the false, but I think you know what's going on there. So you don't see the gutter on the side. And if we move that all the way down and scroll this up, this is more or less how I captured the image for the thumbnail on Windows. And as an extra sort of added fun thing, you can say view.setStatus like this, and most of the stuff goes away. The current file and line, for example, is now no longer present. There are settings to turn all of those things off if you don't want them. I just clipped them away in the screenshot. There's a large amount of stuff that I do for videos that is driven entirely by this. We probably want that to be back to 0 and then quit and reload. You can also get fractional sizes for those things as well. Now this actually seems bigger than it did before as a result of that being so big previously. Probably you want something like 1.25 or something here. There's a potential for fonts to not quite look the way that you want them to when you do that as well. What? And yeah, still got to report that. That's going to be UI customize theme. You're going to get a window that looks like this with your theme on the left, this on the right. You just need to add this particular rule as a start. And, well, you wouldn't want the font face in there, I don't think. But you could change the font size up. And if you're using one of the default themes, this is going to tell you what font size is probably being used by default. Like, for example, the smallest size for things is this. So, oh, right, the font face is still in there. That possibly is the size that was currently being used. We could actually check by looking in the left for sidebar label, right? And the font size is just var font size. Oh, I guess we want the one for file system entry. Fun trick if you're unaware of this. Sublime.log control tree true. If we did that, then you can like Control-Alt-Click on a thing, and the console will tell you the entirety of the control tree that leads to the thing that you clicked. So again, if I hold down Control and Alt and click this, this is the input that comes. So starting right at the title bar, the thing at the bottom is a file system entry sidebar label, and that's where the information comes from for the thing that we did in the file over here. Sidebar label, file system entry. If a combination of that and the theme documentation and looking around inside of your existing theme can give you a good sense for how themes actually fit together. Although I will admit that I haven't done a whole ton of that previously. Just do something like that and end up with the sidebar that I would normally have, but with a different font. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that, and we'll see if it still seems to be that way on Wednesday when I do my Twitch stream. And again, now that the bot's actually working, I'm streaming now every Monday right here on YouTube from 8 p.m. And I also stream on Twitch as well on Wednesdays and on Fridays, same time zone. Please tell me that you're going to do something, bot. Why you gotta be that way, Nightbot? Why you gotta be that way? I'll do it again just in case. Oops. Ah, come on. I don't know if the bot's going to respond to that because it's being a jerk tonight. This is the first stream back in a while, and it actually decided to just leave the channel, so there's probably some issue there. One problem I have is that when the number of lines exceeds 100, the points left by the oh yeah, check it out. Thank you there, guy. Apparently I just did not set that up correctly. Donk. If you'd like to continue with this sort of thing, you can. I generally do just regular software development on Twitch, but I will 100% set aside anything I'm doing if you have a question about Sublime Text or about anything if I can answer it. So relating to thus, you mean like shoot, those little jiggies that get stuck into the sidebar there? If you have over 100 lines, did you say, or was it 1,000 lines? When the number of lines exceeds 100, the points left by the Anaconda plugin are mixed with the number. That would be icons like that in the gutter. So something like that, but the little gutter icon overlaps the text. There are some questions I can't answer, Ben. May I suggest a round slapping of the faces of people? Perhaps we as developers are part of the problem because we're still insisting on developing for systems that are in fact hostile to developers. If you're using Sublime Text 4, does that happen in safe mode too? Alternately, I would say, does it happen in the default theme or the adaptive theme, or are you using a third-party theme? Because I would imagine that something like that would be related to a problem with the theme you're using potentially not having appropriate gutter margins or something. I've never seen any case where icons added to the gutter could possibly overlap because there's a visible space for them between the mini diff indicator and the line, no matter how many of them there are. It's always a minimum of that amount of space, and even on ones where there's two, it still goes in that exact same column all the way to the left. Or even up here where there's only one, it still does the exact same thing. So that's very weird. How to show tabs in distraction mode? Well, let's see. View, enter distraction free mode. Well, tabs are just there by default. If they're not, I would do something like toggle tabs. Is there a setting for that? I'm not even sure. I would jump into the preferences, search around for the word tab, because that's something we want to do. Auto hide tabs, reveal tabs, those aren't turned on here for me. That's just relating to the item. Tab style, highlight modified tabs, native tabs, scrolling, hide tab scroll button, that's rather new. Close deleted files, and we're back up at the top. So I would imagine that if you, again, double check, because I know I've swapped the settings for these. Distraction free mode is F11. If I told it to toggle tabs, went out of distraction free mode, and then went back into distraction free mode, the tabs will be gone. So I would recommend just toggling tabs, and they will either appear or go away, depending. And then again, if you're using Sublime Text 4, there are automatic settings for getting it to hide tabs and then only show them when you're moving or when you're typing. Either of those would probably be the solution for you. This is a thing I tend to do also, is toggle the menu as well. For extremes, you can also toggle the status bar. In situations where I desperately need to get a certain amount of work done and I know that I'm going to have a hard time getting myself to do it, I will put Sublime Text in distraction-free mode on both of my monitors so that they completely hide the ability for something to tell me that there's something happening on the Discord or something happening in the forum, so that I can go and distract myself from working on those things. It's kind of a sad state of affairs that I tend to spend more time helping the Sublime Text community than doing work at times, because it's a much more fun thing to do than fixing linter problems. I think we can all agree on that particular item. But with that, I think we need to do one of these, because it is 10 o'clock. We have reached the end of tonight's stream. I have a little bit of work that I need to do to catch up on all the stuff that went on while I was busy being away on vacation. But thanks to everybody who showed up. I had a great time chatting with you guys again. I've really missed being here on YouTube as well. I mean, I do stream on Twitch. I do development work on Twitch. There's an awesome community of other developers there, and we make like a lot of friends, trading streams and viewers between like-minded developers. But I really do love this whole vibe of helping on Sublime Text, helping with Sublime Text rather, on the YouTube channel, since that's the focus. I don't have half pint. Oh, will this work here? I think it will. I don't have a specific time for it, but what we're planning on doing in upcoming live streams is actually working through the content that you guys would like to see in Sublime Merge videos as a whole. So if you have any ideas for that, please feel free to drop me a message on my Discord, or if you're in the Sublime Text Discord, you can DM me from there, or on the forum, or in the comments section of a video. But by and large, I'd like to know what you guys would like to see out of these videos. What parts of Sublime Merge do you have the most problems with? Tips, tricks, just general usage patterns. What is it that you guys would like to see? And then in these live streams, we're actually going to go through getting that stuff down and working up the examples and the sort of thing that I do for any of the videos that I create on the channel. They come from ideas that, either someone asks me a specific question that triggers the video topic, or I see a lot of people asking a particular question and create a video to fill that void. And the first thing that happens there is I investigate to make sure that I actually understand the problem and how to solve it. So there's a little bit of potential problem solving there. For example, earlier in the stream tonight, someone asked a question about snippets. If I was creating a video on snippets, and I did, I linked one previously, I worked through exactly everything that I wanted to say about them and made sure that I knew how to do it and to describe it properly before I started. That's the sort of thing I want to do in the live streams as well. And there's also a plan for merge videos to have at least some level of primer on using Git. That is a whole topic in and of itself that I don't want to get into in a super ton of detail, at least not right away. But having a little bit of knowledge about Git and how it works would help somebody that's using Sublime Merge to sort of tie the pieces together, if you will. So we're going to need to work on that as well. But I do look forward to suggestions that anybody has for what they'd like to see in these things. Do I have any experience with Vim packages? I've installed them. I've never really created them. Just a lot of extensive work in my vimrc file. But by and large, we didn't do a ton of stuff. Oh, Sublime packages mimicking Vim. I gotcha. I don't have a lot of experience with that. No, I know Neo-Vintages is more or less the go-to de facto standard for those. And Vintage ships with Sublime, but I don't think it's been updated in a while. So all else being equal, I would generally recommend Neo-Vintages. I've never really used it myself because I tend to not take the path of using Vim isms in non-Vim editors, but that is probably an idea for something that would be handy as a series or two on the channel as well. So that's a nice idea. If we did videos on that, would we assume that you already know how to use Vim, and this would be how to use it in Sublime? Because it's also possible that there are people that are using Neo-Vintages or some other Vim related plugin because a blog post somewhere told them that they should, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they know enough to know why they should be using it in the first place. How's that chat working? Is it actually clipping at an appropriate spot? Now that we have enough stuff in here, we can actually test this and make sure that all is well. Yeah, it's looking not too shabby. It looks like it's cutting some of the stuff off the bottom too. I have to look into that. I'm not entirely sure why that's the case, because I'm pretty sure that that should not in fact be possible. But it's coming from something that, yeah. It's coming from something that I can't actively play with while the stream is in session. So I will have to look into that. Similarly, this will work here, right? The ability to figure out why YouTube is not allowing links in the chat, because it has been driving me nuts for months. It was never a problem when I was streaming on the other channel. I'm not entirely sure what's happening now. In any case, thanks so much to everybody who came out. We will be back here next Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. The plan currently is to launch the next live stream schedule, if you will, on a Wednesday. So there's a lot of time for you to run into it and decide if you actually want to attend. And I also stream on Twitch on Wednesdays and Fridays as well, as outlined above, and should be hopefully linked down in the description below here. If not, I'll have to tweak that up, but I'm pretty sure I updated that. And with that, I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell. See you in the next live stream here on YouTube, or in the next video, or possibly in the Twitch streams that will be happening sometime later this week. We need to come up with some new game-related projects over there. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic fun. Thanks again to everybody who arrived, and for people that subscribed while the stream was going. And for people from Twitch that visited, such as Danny Boy, you guys are awesome over there on Twitch as well. As one last thing, Trianlick says, I like the default vintage because it doesn't block Sublime keybinds in insert mode, but it's weird when trying to close the diagnostic panel. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I think that probably relates to the fact that I don't think vintage has been touched too much in recent time. Could be wrong about that. I believe its code is available on a GitHub somewhere. Don't quote me on that though. In any case, we're gonna jump out. Keep the questions coming. Here, Twitter, Discord, everywhere. I love this stuff. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Have a fantastic week if I don't see you until the next one. And please also have a sublime day. And I'm sorry I broke eye contact with the camera because I couldn't tell where the button was that I'm supposed to press.
Thanks so much everyone for coming out. See you next stream.